that the club has sent out because it's not like we've gotten an update on that. And so you go from seven forwards on this list to six with Latsko out. I imagine that they've narrowed their goalkeeper list down to three because of what we saw, Bella.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got Claudia Dickey, you've got Cassie Miller, and it looked like Maddie Prohaska from I just had it up. I think she's from Auburn. No. Let me get sorry. I have to make sure. I only know this because of her hair. Her hair was like
She did
poof.
have, yeah.
And Prohaska, yeah, from Auburn, like her Auburn picture is her hair poof. And the other goalie on the roster that was listed was Macy Enneking, and her hair is not that way. So I don't know how much you want to judge off of a preseason event, but I feel like that's your third keeper, personally.
It would be a little surprising if you have her show up in her own goalkeeper jersey and then you're not signing her. What Jeffrey Lageson from Prost America,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Told us is that there may be a date they have to wait to sign her, something to do with paying trialists versus another thing. It wasn't totally clear.
Yeah.
But there may be a very technical reason she hasn't been signed yet. And they're just sort of waiting for the right time to do it, and it's not that they haven't decided.
You can come hang out. You're not official yet, but you can come hang out with us. Yeah. Um, so no, I mean I put this in here, and Bella's talking about the roster is perfect for this because um you know what, it's 22 minimum players, 26 maximum players for roster size in the NWSL for 2025. Um, and you've got your injured players who will injured and loan players, sorry. That's mean to just call them all injured when it's not actually true. Who will come back and will need roster spots. Three of them are defenders. I don't know. I guess this is kind of to ask how you feel about the roster because I think, and Bella and I were talking about this. There's no set date for when roster decisions have to be made, are there? Or it's just you need to be ready to go by match one. Like, is there a time? And I asked Bella this because Bella does a lot of the like league like footprint stuff already. So it's like, hey, when do they need to know this by?
Yeah, let me I'll
Oh,
do a little double checking and Googling. I'm pretty sure I assume it's similar to the WNBA, where basically you just need to have a roster that is compliant by the first day. Um,
because yeah, I mean,
and
otherwise, looking around, the league footprint provided by the league doesn't say anything about it, and I'm like, well, you guys should know, I hope. Um, Yeah, Bella, I'll let you look that up and I'll keep going here. We'll start. Oh no, I started with Becca. No, actually, we'll start with Becca again because you're looking that up. I mean, how are you feeling about this roster? Because yeah, you've got. I imagine again we're kind of going forward with the idea that they've got the three keepers, and it felt like the third one was somewhat irrelevant's not the correct word. That's mean. I feel like that's wrong, but it probably won't have too much of an impact on the course of the season, right? When you've got Dickey, who has asserted herself as your top keeper, and Cassie Miller, who's a veteran, defenders, it's nice to have that depth when you've got still Lou back. You'll get Ryan, Sophia, and Lily back in different capacities, right? To sign a young defender like Maddie Curry in the offseason is really fun. Um, the midfield, and I have to say this because I feel bad over the episodes we've done. I've forgotten about some players. Like the fact that, you know, mostly the forwards, I haven't talked enough about Coco or about Anna Marina Crnogorcevic, right? Like I think Bella said that in the preseason piece, like about not maybe making an impact or the impact anyone, her or the club, whatever. Like to have a full off season with the club and to start off with them because they came in right after the sale had gone through and you're trying to help this club that really struggled all year, right? It just wasn't an ideal situation. And I'm really like inspired to see them and what they can do over the course of a full season. Like to be able to play with an Emery Adames with speed like that and talent like that, that I think Laura said all season just needed to work on the finishing aspect, right? To just put the final little touch on there. to have her on there and like Bella said, make a leap. Anna Maria Sornogorcevic, who has played all over the world, right? Maddie Darlene, who like Emery Adames has that speed, could be a lot of fun. Jordan Heidema has played over the world, still very young, which I forget. Um, and has had her like a lot. There were a lot of storylines about her towards the end of this year. Oh, she hasn't scored a lot, and I'm like, yeah, well, not many people in this club have. Um, Coco, who like I remember that rumor deal and all the talent that she's got, right? And then at the very end of it is Lynn Biondolo, who I mentioned like that's a ton of talent forward wise. So I'll shut up. But yeah, I don't know, Becca, how do you feel about this roster just with where it sits now? I know things can change, right? And there's still a handful of non-roster invitees, right? Like Sally Menti was one that was kind of interesting to me. Um, but yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about this roster? And then Bella, we'll go to you.
Yeah, again, I wish I could have watched the preseason games to maybe have some stronger opinions, but right now, I guess based on what Bella said, I'm feeling excited about a lot of versatility that it sounds like we have. It at least now it like appears that a lot of those holes and problems that were happening a lot like towards the end of last season are like moving towards being fixed, which excites me. I think a lot of the young talent also is pretty cool to see. I'm hoping people will be able to step up in different roles, and maybe try some people out in different places. But I think in general, for right now, I'm feeling optimistic that I'd say hesitant but optimistic that like a lot of the problems that we have been facing last season will start to we'll start to see changes there.
So I did confirm. The regular season begins Friday, March 14th. Roster compliance must be received by the league by 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, March 12th. So just a couple
Okay,
days before the start of the season.
that makes sense.
Um, in terms of the roster, I do think it's a little defense heavy. I think it's been a concern of mine for a couple months now. Um,
11
at the
defenders? What do you mean? No.
at the same time, if we're gonna say see Phoebe McClernon move up into the six, and knowing how much running Laura wants her outside backs to do up and down the wing, contributing to the attack, um, you know, I think they might need the depth there.
Hmm.
Um, it'll be interesting, so they do have the option to sign some short-term contracts um, to fill in spots before players return, and then have those spots open back up. So we may see a couple trialists sign those kinds of short-term contracts. Something that again Jeffrey had mentioned when we were at the event was the possibility of Sofia Huerta moving back up top when she returns. If that's something they need, that's something she did for a lot of her career and she's very
Hmm.
capable of. So if it ends up being that they have a lot of defensive depth and the defense is playing really well, um, I would not hate to see her in midfield or fully up top. Um, it'll be interesting to see who gets the defensive minutes as a result, because there are only Laura really is only one to play with four defenders. I'd be shocked if she went to some sort of three-back system with wings. Um, it would be it would certainly be a change for her. Um, so it'll be very interesting to see who gets those minutes with so many players in that particular rotation. There are some who I'm relatively certain would not be um, getting many minutes, but I'm not entirely certain either who will get the minutes. I think Madison Curry and Shea Holmes were really good in the preseason games. I think we saw a lot of growth overall from Shea Holmes in the last season. And I'm excited to see more of her. I think Phoebe McClernon would be a very solid, set in stone starter if it weren't for the fact that she might be the six instead. Um, so
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that I think we won't know until we actually see it. Um, but I do, in the like last year when they kind of didn't have enough defenders and they ended up moving forwards back to play defense, which is functionally what Veronica Latsko did after Sofia Huerta left. I don't think not that went horribly, but I do think it showed in some of the defensive mistakes and just the lack of continuity in the defense. So hopefully they can have a bit more of a set defense this year so that they can be very solid in their communication with each other and the
Mm.
goalkeeper and hopefully prevent uh not score not sorry, not concede as many goals as they did last year.
Yeah.
Um so then it just becomes who's getting minutes and are there other players beside Phoebe who are going to be moved into slightly more forward roles um to fill those spaces. So, like six forwards isn't a lot, but it is still enough where you could functionally sub out your entire attacking line
Hmm.
in a game if you wanted. Um, so I think it'll just be there's no like major holes other than the six, um, which again maybe Phoebe McLaren really is the answer there. I don't know. Like I'm very fascinated to see. Um, but
I'm
other than that,
surprised you haven't said Jordan Bugg's name once.
oh my God, you're
See,
right.
that's what, and I'm gonna hijack you here for a second because, like, I'm gonna go back to what Becca said. I'm optimistic, maybe because I'm just a fool, but generally because, like, I don't need to talk about the goalkeepers because Claudia's a rock there. I'm not worried about that. Like, to have Lauren Barnes back, feels weird saying her full name. Sorry. Lou Barnes back. I don't like, yeah, this I'm just used to calling her Lou. Have Lou Barnes back, hopefully with over the hump with whatever injury that she was dealing with last year that continuously bothered her, right? To get Ryan Brown back eventually, I don't know when that's going to be. I don't think we have a date. Did we ever get a timeline? No, no. Okay, so no
We have
timeline.
not been given a timeline, no.
So I'm going to operate without thinking about the three defenders that you're missing right now. So effectively, you have eight defenders, which is still a decent amount, right? Jordan Bug, who has gotten all the I almost said criticism wrong, all of the hype and praise from Laura Harvey and from her teammates, and
And
she's
me.
she's still well, yes, is still effectively a child, right? Madison Curry, who is young and talented and like, did we ever, is there any reason we know why she left Angel City?
I don't think there was any, I don't know if there was anything in particular. Certainly that club has issues
It's
off and on.
issues. Yeah,
But she may have just been offered more money by the Reign. It's really
sure.
or like a or more of a prominent position. It's really hard to know. That Angel City also, I believe, still does not have a coach yet.
Oh, yes, that's right. Because when
Because
they streamed
Sam
the
Lady
preseason
was
match,
the
it was Sam
interim
Lady.
coach and their GM is Mark Parsons. So that could it could just be sort of the uncertainty of that franchise, which
Yeah.
we saw
And
affect the Reign the previous offseason. So
oh, yeah. Well, all that to say is the Reign came up with getting Madison Curry. Like that is a positive. Hannah Glass is interesting to me as a veteran, as you talked about with her when we heard from her at this event, and generally like someone who retired from international play to focus on her club play, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna complain about having a veteran like that on the roster. Shea Holmes, looking at you, Becca. No. Shea
Just kidding.
Holmes, who has shown well last year, right? And like talking about a bump is encouraging, and I'm sure she'll have fun again when the Reign and UW do that friendly later this week. They actually during this recording they've posted about it, so that's fun. They heard me speaking. The voices are getting louder. Julia Lester's tough for me because she's a veteran. I'm sure she could get more minutes on another club, but when we're mentioning all these players, she kind of goes down on the depth chart, right? Emily Mason, I haven't seen enough to really make a like much of a conclusion or give, as Becca mentioned earlier, a stronger opinion. Like, don't have one. I could be proven wrong. Make me look fucking stupid. It happens all the time. I waited till later in the episode to swear. Um, Phoebe McClernand, I've felt a lot better about Phoebe McClernand after last year. Like when
She
she
was
first came
fantastic.
in, Bella like had me like scared to death about
She had a tendency to pick up yellow and red cards, okay?
that one loves to tackle, doesn't she?
No,
Like
remember, I think it was like the last game of the season, and they were worried, or like one game when they were worried that Phoebe was going to like get suspended for getting her fifth yellow card. And like Laura just came, or no, she got a yellow early in the game, and Laura came to us after and was like, "Yeah, I'm really shocked. Like Phoebe didn't pick up a second yellow and get like kicked out of the game."
so yeah. Um I feel a lot better about Phoebe McClernand going forward as my point. Midfield, I don't have too much to say on the because I've got two non-roster invites here listed, right? And Sophia Sedano and Sally Menti. I've heard great things about Sally Menti. Don't know enough about Sophia Sedano. I'm sorry.
She looked
Specifically
decent
Menti
in
because of
the
how good Santa Clara has been. Huh?
Sedano looked decent in the preseason game. She got some, I want to say like 20, 30 minutes to get against Angel City.
She's a Bruin. Ugh. Well, Lou would like that, I'm sure. Um, it'll be really fun to see what Jess Fishlock does in what unofficially could be her final year, right? I'm sure she'll be more than motivated to close things out well and do better than what last year. If there's someone who's gonna be pissed off about what happened last year, it's the tiny
It's,
dragon. Like
yep, it's gonna be that
so.
Welsh dragon.
Speaking of Welsh, has very intrigued to see what Haz's role is this year. Because she came in and it seemed like she would effectively be an important piece here, and then she just kind of faded, you know. So we'll see. Ainsley McCammon, another of the young and exciting children on this roster. Like that was something that I want to talk about when we get to the kits. And I know we got to get going, so I'll get there, I promise. Really interested with what her role is, and I feel like she might be someone that pushes like a has out of a role. Could be. Like there was a lot of good talk about Ainsley McCammon last season, right? Maddie Mercado. When Becca and I started this show, I expressed my belief in Maddie Mercado. They did bring her back. It's gonna be tough for her, right? I feel like to get minutes. I don't know. It's possible, and also tough because of other young midfielders like Sam Meza, who is on this list, right? Um, G, G gave us like all of the really exciting goals last year, outside of a few, right? Seeing though her and Jess rip teams to shreds will be really fun this year. And then Olivia Vanderyacht, you get Olo back. I know someone has commented on our stuff earlier in the preseason. I think when we got back to media training, they go, "What about Olo?" I'm like, "Well, she's training." I think I asked Laura, and she's like, "Well, she's training. She's here." Like, so I think they're operating as if everything's all good to go now. So
She played significant minutes during the preseason game.
good. Okay. Yeah. So feel like we're good now. We're good to go, right? And then the forwards are, we've already kind of talked about the forwards. So yeah, that leads me into our other, well, there was also the hiring of the assistant coach, Lee Nguyen. I will put that in there because we didn't talk about it and I don't want to leave that stone unturned. He's had a really fun soccer like journey. It's very fascinating to go through a 17-year career spent in the MLS and overseas. Um, helped yeah, helped the Spirit win the 2021 NWSL championship. Um, was spent time with KC and then I think most recently Angel City.
Yeah.
So it's a fun pickup. I'm excited to be around him more. I don't know if he's as fun and as bald as Scott, but
Well, he
not everyone
plays
can be.
pickup soccer with Scott.
Okay, so he gets a bump up then.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all the away games for Seattle Reign FC this year?
Away games. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See y'all here.